Well, guys, we have a special guest today, one of the biggest racers that there is.
You know, I feel like little Bo Peep who's lost her sheep.
Yeah.
There's a wolf in the studio,
What?
man.
No wolves. I'm kind of scared now. I'm kind of scared. What? Wolf?
A wolf.
What's his first name?
His first name is Paul.
Paul Wolf.
Well, I started doing this so I could put a helmet on and hide from everybody, and now here I am.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that's what we should have done is had you put your helmet on. You know,
I feel more comfortable that way.
I bet.
Well, I got a padded one if you want to use it.
Yeah.
That was the first one I wore before I got the hard sell.
My wife gives me the padded one with the styrofoam.
Yeah. Yeah, he has to use that to go potty.
Don't tell.
Funny story. Well, not really. I guess it's funny now because he's okay. But I had a buddy that had to wear one of those around. He had his whole side of his skull cut out.
Oh.
We were riding motorcycles together, and he hit a deer about 10 feet in front of me at 65, and messed himself up pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
And they took this whole chunk of his skull out to let his brain swell and go back down. And I mean, he walked around for like 90 days, almost 3 months with missing this chunk of his skull.
Oh, my goodness.
It was different.
What do they do? Do they like refrigerate his skull, waiting in anticipation?
So he hangs out with me, so he's got to be a little crazy. So anyways, they took it out and they put it in a refrigerator or some kind of, they keep it essentially to put it back in later. And he's pretty crazy, and he's like, well, I'm just going to start growing a new one. He kept making that joke to everybody. And I'm like, oh, and the doctor's like, oh, only 1% of people's skulls ever start growing back. And they went to put the piece back in, and they had to go and cut it down because his started growing back.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
And he's like, I told you I was going to grow a new skull.
Oh, my gosh.
And so they had to cut the piece down to make it fit where his skull started growing back.
Oh,
so,
God.
interesting story, right? Yeah,
it is. Well, and to survive a deer motorcycle accident is, that's rare.
Yeah, and it was one of them. It was. I had to admit, it was a lot different than you always hear about that stuff, and I used to ride motorcycles, and I loved riding at night. That was my favorite. I loved night riding. That was one of our favorite times to ride, and we were riding in the middle of the night. It was probably 11, 12 o'clock at night, and we were coming back on like a 2-hour trip heading back home, and he was running. We're staggered. He's running out in front of me. We're running now probably 65, 70 mile an hour, and the deer cleared a 4-lane highway and landed on his front fender. So he had there wasn't it was out in front. There was none of that. It was literally jumped, cleared the lane in the left lane, cleared the left lane, and landed on the front fender of his bike. And so there was no brakes. There was no reaction. It was just
nothing.
An instant thud.
Oh, man.
Anyways, but he's good and he's okay now.
That's good.
He
somewhat, right?
Works. Yeah, well, he's always a little crazy. Not a really good scale to judge by.
I wonder if his skull is actually stronger now in that spot. I don't know if I'd want to test it.
Hopefully put a couple extra screws in it.
Some duct tape.
Yeah, if he was my friend, I'd always tease him, man, they missed a couple of screws, or you got some loose ones up there, buddy.
At least
they
he's
might
okay.
have made him more sane, actually, to be honest with you. I think they might have calmed him down a little bit.
Well, yeah, something like that would definitely open one's eyes to some different perspectives for sure. Yeah.
It does. I don't ride much anymore. I still have a Harley, but it pretty much sits. It maybe gets out once a year. I don't think I even had it out last summer, actually, speaking of that.
I sold every one of my bikes 4 years ago now and bought all things with roll cages on them.
That's what they say. With age, get a cage. But for some reason, all of my stuff with roll cages still tend to hurt me. I don't know what to do.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's because it might be due to the fact that you're wheeling it. You're not just going and getting ice cream in these things, man.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's what I'm doing most days.
Yeah.
I'm out trail riding.
Yeah. Just another day in the office for Paul Wolf, right?
Yeah, that's
Nice.
the goal. So,
Yeah, nice.
but
Yeah, so man, thanks for
Yeah.
for joining us. This is pretty cool. Again, I touched base with you a little bit on the phone.
yeah,
We did kind of bump into you down at Badlands last year at the Bash. Of course, fell in love with your machine. That thing is just golly, gee, man, what a yeah. Hats off. Did you do all the fab work and design and building on that?
on the 4400 car.
Yes, sir.
No, that's Joe Thompson. That's a UFO car.
Okay.
So that was actually built as Joe likes to refer to it. That's his armchair car. So that was before CAD and everything. He built that one in his garage,
Okay.
Oh, wow.
like his 2-car garage.
No
So,
kidding.
Yeah, that was before the big UFO shop that he's at now.
Okay.
Where the cars are all fully CAD'd out
Yep.
and everything. And what's really neat is just a little backstory and all the stuff that we do that nobody gets to see. That makes the difference. Is he actually built newer cars and I was racing against them and we learned some geometry tricks from the older my car to his new cars. And he actually changed some of the geometry on the new cars back to what is in my car.
Okay.
On certain places. I'm not really at liberty to say. That's for
Right.
Joe to discuss.
Sure,
more than me.
sure.
Yeah.
But it was kind of neat getting to be involved in that and doing and recognizing, that he actually had it right in
Yeah.
his garage with no CAD.
That is
So-
awesome. That is awesome.
Well, sometimes with a CAD, you're overlapping things one over another, and you're not really paying attention. You think it looks good until it's actually done.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Charles Ingalls never used his tape measure or level, and look at the stuff that he built back in the day.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, it's neat. And that's even like that's one of the things I have to commend Joe on tremendously is his ability to see the entire picture of a car. He's really good about. A lot of people get hung up focusing on one area, I want to make sure the geometry is perfect in the back of the car to make the most traction or whatever their reason is, but then they neglect other things on the other end of the car or neglect things around it.
Yep.
I think Joe's ability to focus on the geometry, but then package the entire car as a whole package is really unique.
Right.
In his case, he's very, very good at it.
Yeah.
But it shows. He builds some neat cars, and like obviously my car's a little older, but it's still extremely competitive, and
Sure.
it still does a great job.
What do you mean competitive? We were watching the King of Hammers. You're coming down the rocks and you're just sending over it. Everybody else is checking down the hills. I mean,
man.
competitive. It was advanced more than the other cars.
Yeah, that qualifying run in that Can-Am was, I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, that was awesome.
You can't, but no, the 4400 series was the awesome one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely the 44, and that goes back to the whole Can-Am versus 44 thing everybody gets into, and I get a lot of questions because I raced both classes.
Right.
And like the reliability of the Can-Am is astonishing how reliable the cars are. And it goes back to just a lot of little things. The 44, the big cars have a lot of little gremlins that hunt you down and find you.
Yeah.
Everything from coil packs going out while you're racing to, plugins that just aren't made to take the vibration and the abuse that we put them through. There are a lot of the plugins on the cars are more like streetcar stuff,
Okay.
for the computers and that, it's made to be driven down the road, is not made to be bounced off of boulders.
Sure.
And so you end up with just a lot of little weird failures that are so hard to overcome and adapt to, because they're just not engineered the way the Can-Ams are. The Can-Ams have, millions of dollars of engineering and making them waterproof and making them, you can go drive one of them up over the dash in water and they're perfectly fine as long as you keep the intake out of the water.
Yep.
Yep.
That just shows, how sealed the ECM is, the wiring and all that. And I think that's the big difference in the 44 to UTV is I know the UTVs aren't as fast as the 44s yet. I always throw that yet in there because I'm sure there's going to be one day that they're going to be there. They're not there yet. And you never know. I really think the UTVs are going to end up building a 4,400 car. I think they're already starting down that path. I think you're going to see them, the Polaris have the 4-cylinder, the 2-liter motors. And I think you're going to see them. They're probably going to build a 4,400 car. It's just who's going to take it there first, I guess.
Yeah.
Would be a better question.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I mean, the wheelbases are already pretty close to the same. They're still a little smaller, but not much.
Yeah, not much, really. No, you're right.
Yeah.
The a little less travel, a little less weight, but again, a little less horsepower, a lot less torque. That's the thing that the 4400 is always going to have above and beyond the UTV is that grunt, but yeah, they're close. I mean, you throw a set of 38-inch tires on a UTV, and they're pretty capable machine, aren't they?
They're very capable, and I think there's a lot of obstacles they have left to overcome. But the like my big thing to see one win hammers, I'm personally not that surprised by it.
Mm-hmm.
If I seen one come out and outrun everybody in the 4400 class and win, that would be shocking to me.
Yeah.
If they could just clear trails and clear obstacles faster, overall, not just one, but overall clear, the rock trails faster than the 44s. That's when I'll be really surprised or impressed.
Sure.
But to see one win, and I'm not trying to discredit it. It was definitely a really big feat.
Yeah.
But it was, to me personally, I didn't find it that surprising. I always knew that I always felt the Can-Ams are more reliable than our 4400 trucks.
Yeah.
But it's changing. The 4400 trucks are getting better, even from, I've been racing them a short time. And I know the reliability in ours has gone up drastically from the first time I drove it. And also we've innovated a lot. Everything from the braking system in the truck to the steering system in the truck. We've innovated a lot of stuff throughout that. Just in the last 3 years, the downfall is I'm one person, and like Can-Am has a whole team of engineers, so their progression is a lot faster than mine in my truck.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Well, last year we were at the Badlands, and you were jumping it beforehand, before the race, and I'm cringing every time. I'm like, let's not break this. Let's race.
Yeah.
And I get that, but like my mindset and even the truck owner Chris's mindset on it is if the truck's going to break doing that, it's not going to make it to the race.
Yep.
So it's kind of like and honestly, I was jumping it. I don't know how far we jumped at 100 foot. Let's say. It wasn't like I was really just sending it and fully throwing it out there, throwing caution to the wind.
It was more controlled.
Yeah, it was. I felt like I was in really good control of it, doing it. It had way more in it. I just, again, we had a race in 2-3 hours. So I wasn't gonna just go all out.
It wasn't the best. It wasn't the best long jump hill, in my opinion, either. It was. You had to hit that thing with some steam.
Yeah, you did, and it would have been. I think it would have been good, but the landing side was like off cambered, kind of tapered down.
Yep. Yeah.
And so I thought the run up to it was good because you could carry a lot of speed, which would get you a lot of distance. Mm-hmm. But the landing, there was a sweet spot, which I was landing in the sweet spot. was it dipped down that would actually kind of plane and come back up, and the guy who won it actually landed into that, and it looked like it hurt, to be honest.
Yeah, he did.
Looking in, it looked like it hurt, and I was like, I'm probably not going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. There was a couple of guys that cased it pretty hard up there. Yeah, the ones that really sent it, they were oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were not doing it. We decided just to do the race, the snake, but we rolled uphill doing that still.
Yeah, the serpentine. Yeah, Jason was. He put on a show. Put on a good show.
Well, it's probably the same way when you hit that jump. You're like, okay, everybody's around. Let's make this look cool. And you're like, yep. Yeah, and then I did the same thing, rolled up a hill with the Pro R.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was a good one. That was a fun event. We're really looking forward to it again this year. We did verify that our friend Tim from the UTV Outlaws he's gonna be attending and racing the event as well. So we'll definitely be there in support with a few people that we like and that are going to be running it. So
Awesome. Well, that'll be good. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
And then obviously I partnered up with the Badlands Park, so
Yeah.
it's always great to see more people come up there, and they're just it's a very interesting park because to me it's not the only park in the country, but one of the few ones that they really go out of their way to make people feel welcome at their park.
Oh yeah.
You know, they go above and beyond. A lot of parks, it seems like there's a ticket booth at the beginning, and you pull in, you pay your money, and okay, see you later.
Yep.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
you got what you want to go do whatever you're going to do. You know,
Uh-huh.
where they are definitely a lot more involved, and it's neat to see. You know, like I remember going there, and this is a back kind of the thing. We went there to see. I had to be like 18 or 19. No, backstory: we actually snuck into a bar in town. But,
We're not judging. No.
so I knew I was under 21. But anyways, we went up there and we actually broke. We had a little Toyota rig I was doing and broke it, and they let us go up to their shop and borrow a welder and weld it back together and go wheel again, which is something unique. You know, a lot of the parks either don't offer that or wouldn't allow it or whatever. And
Yeah.
they're one of the few parks, that you kind of break your junk and they'll let you fix it or
Yep.
help you fix it even and get you back out there and going. And that was always kind of really neat to me that they're willing to go that little extra bit to make sure you're having fun.
Yeah.
So
We went there in my Pro XP I was driving. I blew out a bearing and some other stuff, the whole back end. They didn't have it in stock, and they took one off a machine for me so we could get back out. So after that, I ended up buying my Pro R and my Can-Am Defender from him.
Yeah.
yeah, they're awesome people. It's really neat to see a place that goes that takes customer service that seriously.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
really puts effort into it.
100%. Yeah, 110% effort that they put into it. Yeah, it's a cool place.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
And that's my favorite park. We love going there. So
Yeah.
So what really, I read up on your whole webpage there. So what made you kind of get into racing?
So it's always been around, and so my dad had a lifted up Chevy truck, '85 Chevrolet. It had a couple different versions and iterations of it, but ultimately it was basically right there with Bigfoot, along the same times that Bigfoot. We're from St. Louis, so
Yep.
I'm down by St. Louis. We're on Alton side of St. Louis. Bigfoot's from St. Louis,
Yep.
and so we were right there close, and just kind of grew up around it. My dad did it. He eventually sold it to start a scrapyard and start a business doing that. He was a journeyman machinist, quit doing that, and started a scrapyard salvage business. Did that my whole life from being a kid. I think about 8 years old,
Oh,
9 years
wow.
old, running excavators, tracos. He made us work. There wasn't. Our summers were spent 8 to 5 working at the scrapyard. We didn't have a choice.
That's a good dad.
yeah.
Yeah, there was no options there. It was you're going to go work, and it was brutal, but it taught me a really good work ethic, which pays off now. I actually sometimes don't necessarily think I'm the fastest person at the track. I'm just willing to outwork everybody else at the track.
Yeah.
I'm willing to
Oh,
put
yeah.
in more time, more effort than everybody else. And I think that pays off a lot. How much are you willing to work?
Yeah.
And so, growing up doing that, and then our fun was we'd take junk cars and we'd get them in that run because of missions or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And we had a farm. We had a 160-acre farm. The scrapyard was on about 20 of it. And so we'd hoard all these cars to the back and, hide them. And then on the weekends, we'd race them. We'd go out in the junkyard and race them through the junkyard. And we called it, wrecking racing. We played tag and junk cars. And it was funny, for the longest time, this
Yeah.
was normal to us. This was a normal childhood. This is what everybody did.
Uh-huh.
And then, obviously you get older and, and one of our neighbors was I guess I'm trying to think of what he was a teacher, but he did driver's ed was one of the classes he taught. So he ended up being my driver's ed teacher. And he watched us do this, from the time we were 8 years old. We'd go out in the field next to his house because he lived across the street, and we'd be out here racing each other in junk cars, a bunch of, and we were young, like really surprisingly, none of us got killed or really hurt.
Yeah.
We're talking 10 years old, and like we figured out to pull fuses out of airbags really quick, like take all the fuses out of the car because you get hit in the face with the airbag. So we learned just a lot of little tricks like that. My uncle that comes with me taught us how to hot wire cars, break the steering columns out with a claw hammer, and you got a little rod on top. You shove it down, fires the car up. Because, ironically, a lot of people take a car to a scrapyard, they take their keys with them. They think it's going to get crushed. Well, if we know it runs, we're going to race it or run it around, and
Before you scrap it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we, and that's the nice thing about scrap is, that's the only business you can be in. You literally can't hurt your product.
Right. Yeah.
You can pretty much do anything you want to it. You can't hurt it. You're selling it by weight, so it doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter how beat up it is. It's worth the same amount of money, whether it's clean or whether it's dirty. So,
That's awesome.
Well, you ran the gas out to help it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a safety thing.
Environmentally friendly. We didn't want to drain the gas in the ground.
Yeah, it was
That's
all
good
for
thinking.
safety.
Remember that line. Ironically, now at the scrapyard, we have what we call enviro racks, and we have to put them up on a rack, and we drain all the oils, all the gas, everything out of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were just doing that ahead of a time.
Yeah.
We were ahead of the EPA.
I don't know. Yeah, you're good thinking there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we did a bunch of that, and then my driver's ed teacher, when I got into driver's ed, we were driving, and he literally was like, "Yeah, we ain't really worried about you driving. I know you can drive.
I'm taking the corner. Just slide down.
You know what it was is he didn't want to ride with you, man. That's what it was.
That I would believe.
Yeah.
That one I literally believe.
That's
We did some pretty wild stuff. We had a jump set up. We'd take the cars and run them around. We actually ended up building a motocross track, and
wow.
we'd get wild and take the junk cars and race around the motocross track. And we were really young and dumb. Like we'd take S10s and we'd land so hard we'd bend the steering wheels over from holding on because we'd take the fuses out of the airbags. So we'd bend the steering wheels over up against the dash, and you have to pull them back out to get your hands out between the dash and the steering wheel.
You needed a GoPro at that time.
What's that?
You needed a GoPro at that time.
Yeah.
I wish we had it on GoPro. Like
No
looking at
kidding.
it now, we would have probably made a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have none of it on GoPro. We have a bunch of stories, and that's about it. But it was a blast. And we come from a huge family, so my dad's one of 16 kids.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So there's a ton of us grandkids. So let's see, my youngest uncle was a senior in high school when I was in 8th grade.
Okay.
So he kind of ran around with us a little bit too. He'd come down and race junk cars with us.
Yep.
And so there was always people around, that would do it. My dad would join in every once in a while and race them with us. And they weren't like, he taught us how to pit maneuver each other. He taught, things that you probably shouldn't teach a kid. It was more like you're out there racing and he'd do it to, pit maneuver you, and you'd be like, how do you do that? Hang on a second. And figure it out real quick so you could do it back to him.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things like that, and different stuff we learned, where to brake check people, if you jump a jump when you land, lock the brakes up so the guy behind you in the air and he wastes his car and you can take back off because he rear ends you. So just a lot of little tricks like that we learned. Probably not really good things, but you learn a lot of neat little tricks to.
I'm going to remember that one next Duro race.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you really don't like your vehicle, just next time you hit a jump,
Oh, yeah.
jump
I
it
got
easy and then block it up.
I got the whole roll cage on the back of my race machine, so it goes all the way back around to the frame. I'm good.
Yeah, he does have that one. That one is sealed up pretty well.
Yeah, it'll be them, not me.
Yeah.
That's all you need. Then you're good to go.
Well, we watched our first podcast that we did. We actually did the watching of the junkyard one.
Yeah, your junkyard.
Oh, okay,
wars.
the junkyard video.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
first one that we did because we just started. We're like episode 16 or 17, whatever it is. But it was
Okay.
awesome. I mean, and then we watched the second video and the third video. How many cars did you actually? What did you actually break doing that?
In the Can-Am.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing is we so after we did the kickflip, we ran out onto the edge of the road there, and
Yep.
I ran down the highway. Well, I kept hitting that water puddle, and we were getting. It actually was really kind of supposed to be a filler shot, and then it was so violent and kind of cool. We're like, well, this is really neat. Let's do it again and get more camera angles.
Yep.
And so we did it 3 or 4 times, and the car was wet, and it had water running off of it. And I didn't realize it actually broke the coolant line to the turbo just from wear and tear.
Yeah.
The car I was using, that particular car, is one of my first cars I built, so it's a little older. Um, and when I come out and I took off down the highway, it didn't have no water in it, and
Oh.
I ended up melting it down. Uh, and so I blew that up, and after we blew it up, I obviously had to get it all rebuilt. So actually, the video took place. We started it right after Hammers in spring last year, and then we actually finished it in fall.
Wow.
Because by the time I got the motor replaced between racing and so last year we had a big gap right after Hammers that we started it all, and then I blew it up, and that kind of ruined it. And we actually tried to sub in a different car at one point. We were going to try to change the video and change the format of it and sub a different car in just to get it finished. And we were trying to do a burnout hook to the excavator, like what we ended up doing. And our original idea was to do that same burnout, but have the excavator spin the car around in circles.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we hooked it to the bucket of the excavator, started doing a burnout, and we started spinning it. Well, we're on concrete, and the Nitto tires got hot and got sticky, and it started hooking so hard it blew the front diff out of it and broke the rear axles in it, all in one shot. Just grenaded everything, and it was like, oh, that's not going to work.
Nope.
No.
So back to the drawing board. So I fixed the car. That was the biggest destruction we had was them two things. Fixed all that stuff, and then came back, and we decided just to do the burnout straight. Because then you kind of end up in the same spot, and we noticed what we did is when we were swinging it is at the scrapyard, they poured a bunch of fresh concrete that was just broomed, and so it made a ton of traction.
Yeah.
And so we knew we couldn't go over and do it on that section of concrete because it was just too rigid, too much traction.
Okay.
And so we did it in a little different spot, did a big burnout, and I was able to shoot everything else. And actually, the car fared extremely well. The only other thing we did tear up is I tore up the hood fender going through the camper. Was the only other thing, like major damage to the car. Other than that first initial burnout deal, and that was actually a different car. So it turned out really well. That particular car, I sold it now, but it was a really good car. I have another one built pretty identical to it, and they're really lightweight in that the configuration that I had it built in, with the radiator in the passenger where the passenger seat would be, kind of paneled in. A lot of the weight's down low in the car and centered in the car really well. And so the car is actually very agile, and it's light enough that it doesn't break a lot of parts. So it really holds up really well to everything. You get bigger cars with a lot more weight hanging off the back or hanging off the front. They tend to break more parts because your weight's not down low and centered. So when you're cornering and doing things, it loads wheel bearings, it loads bushings of A-arms. It puts the weight over the top of the tire versus pushing. Like, I'm trying to think how to explain it correctly.
Sure.
Your center of gravity is up higher, so your weight's shifting over the top of the wheel bearing, over the top of the tire, and forcing a lot more pressure into the wheel bearings, into the knuckles, A-arms. It transfers to the whole car.
Absolutely.
By having it more centered in the car, it just tends to let the car take a lot more abuse. The only other thing we really had was drifting the car. I actually initially was under the impression I'd do a lot more two-wheel drive drifting in the car. Once we started doing it, I realized, because I run the cars are spooled in the front end with the hydraulic steering, that the car wouldn't respond very well, the two-wheel drive drifting. I could control it much better. And people are trying to call me. In the four-wheel drive configuration, I could control the car tremendously better than I could in the two-wheel drive side, which is kind of backwards from what you would initially think. You initially think that a two-wheel drive, you can run the brake and you can control it a lot better. I've really found out in four-wheel drive, I could control the car a lot better
Yeah.
in the drift side. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's similar to when we were out on Crystal Raceway, the same thing. A lot of guys were out there running two-wheel drive on that track, and I put mine in four-wheel drive and had way more control of it in the corners. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Yep. And it was in that drift. You have to set it up and get it into that slide and just start pointing and shooting, and you're basically steering with your skinny pedal though, you know.
Yep.
It is, and I think you said there, like the initial set is harder in the four-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in two-wheel drive, it's a little easier to get it to initially rotate.
Yep.
But once it starts, I feel like the four-wheel drive is much easier to control after that point.
Yeah.
It is a lot more, like you said, the throttle plays a big difference in it.
Well,
So
that video was
it's
awesome.
definitely neat. That was a big carnage. What's that?
I said that video was awesome.
Oh, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I gotta give it, like, Dylan, my media guy. He killed it on that, because I really felt bad because we didn't have a big budget. It was just me and him, and then for the second time we shot, we flew in a guy from Florida, Nick Mott. He's a really good media guy. He actually works with Digging Deeper now. I drive their Pro 4 truck for him.
Okay.
He flew up and helped us, but like a lot of that was Dylan running around, moving cameras. So like we do a shot, because we had a slim crew. We'd do a shot and we'd have to redo it just to get different camera angles.
Sure.
And so then, and it was funny because I'd do something, and a lot of it I'd just kind of shoot from the hip. So it's like, that one looked really cool, great. And he'd be like, all right, I need you to do it again. And I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm like, oh, again? Like, really? Like, you want me to do that again?
Yeah.
Man, it worked great once. I thought we were good.
Yeah.
And he'd move cameras around, so I'd sit there in the car, and he'd go run all over the place moving cameras, get all the cameras moved and be half out of breath and be like, okay, do it again. And I'm like, okay, go try it again. And then, all right, I want to get this angle. This would look really cool here. Go back and sit there, and I'm going to move cameras again, and so he worked his butt off, man. He really put a ton of effort into it, and he kind of, I don't want to say took it over, but he really took it and treated it like it was his own. He didn't treat it like a job. He really treated it as if it was his video, his creation, and he put a ton of effort into it, and he knocked it out of the park, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was one of the best ones I've seen with the action.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of different videos, so we'll do the same thing. If we're at the dunes, we'll have like 3 or 4 GoPros. We might take a wooden stick and tape them to them. We don't have the cool stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work, even editing, putting that thing together, all them different camera angles.
Yeah.
I see a lot of the backside of it just because of what I do. But I'm just like, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
amazing.
That's all you can say. And then
Thank you. Right?
And then jumping
That's
through the
awesome.
camper, I'm like, it makes me want to buy a camper.
Yeah, that was epic. That took some thought and some preparation and probably some meditation prior. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It actually, I was nervous for that. Like, all honesty, like it went super good. Like, and it was like afterwards, it's like, why were you nervous? That was the easiest thing. And in all honesty, I expected the car to react tremendously worse than it did.
Yeah.
My biggest fear was getting impaled. Over everything, I was just worried that, because that camper, that one in particular, well, actually it's Dylan's camper, so thank you to Dylan again for
He's not camping this year.
No, he's not.
So, but it had steel frame on everything, so it was fiberglass camper, but it had all the interior of it was still framed.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of like 2x2 square tubing in it and stuff, and it was all super thin, but it was like, man, if one of those get turned the wrong way and pointed at me,
Yeah.
I'm not going to, I just left the plastic firewall on the car. It's going to go right through that. The only thing we did do, we put a screen on the windshield of the car.
I did see that.
Which was a 1/4-inch heavy screen I put on there just for that. But to be honest, I drove into it with one foot on the gas. The other foot was up in the seat with me. I actually pulled my leg all the way back out of the firewall and turned sideways in the seat.
Right.
And so I was literally sitting in there crooked.
Oh my
just trying
gosh.
to make myself smaller. to not do it. And I actually expected the car to land. I really thought that the camper would rotate the car, like,
Yeah.
because we're hitting it,
Yeah.
and I just assumed like there's going to be stronger parts of the camper and weaker parts. So I just assumed like most likely the driver's tire versus the passenger tire isn't going to hit the same spot. You know, one of the spots are going to be stronger. It's going to probably rotate the car sideways
Yeah.
or do something to the car to make it come to the other side completely out of shape. And so I really was expecting to have to counter and react and do a lot of things of a driver to keep the car kind of under control. And it landed so straight and clean, and the car actually, I expected it to, nose down or nose up. I expected so much things to happen, and nothing happened. It went right through it clean, landed flat, and I was so shocked by it, I almost forgot to turn because there was a camera guy straight in front of me. And
He'll move
Nick
when you
was
hit him.
sitting there, and luckily he's a ex-military guy, so he doesn't get scared of much. And I'm flying at him with the car, and he just stood there and filmed the whole time. And I guess he believed I would turn, which I made the turn a little late, but I did make the turn. So
Nice.
I honestly didn't expect it. It caught me so off guard when the car landed and everything was good. I was like, oh, that's so awesome. Oh, wait, I got to turn. Hang on a second. So it went really well, but I was very nervous for that one.
Yeah, that was great. You've got a lot of other great accomplishments too. You know, we did not. I mean, I know you're a modest man. You don't want to brag, so we won't get into all the numbers. Everybody can look all those up. But incredible, my man. The podium finishes that you have had in the last 4 years it's amazing, amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, and we're still chasing it. I'm not gonna lie. That the Hammers always burns me. That place is just, I don't know what it is.
How can you prepare
I don't
for
think
that?
it likes me.
You know,
What's that?
you can't prepare for that place, really.
It's hard. It's hard, and then it's also. I don't want to take nothing away from the guys, but it's hard on the budget to prepare for it because it takes. You have so much pre-running that you have to come back and pretty much. So you prep the car before you leave.
Mm-hmm.
You leave. You go out there, and to run. In my mind, to run at the top level with the guys, the Kyle Cheneys and the Lauren and all of these, you have to go take your car and pre-run everything.
Yep.
So then you run everything. You have to come back and you almost have to prep your car a second time before you ever race it.
Mm-hmm.
So you come. It's pretty much like doing 2 full race preps on the car, and then and it's just a lot of logistics and the fueling and the taking care of parts and everything you carry on the car. It just changes it a lot. It makes it a lot more difficult for us in particular because we rely on volunteer crew. We don't have paid crew members, and so we rely on a lot of volunteers. Which I have a huge group of guys that go out there this year and volunteered, and it's neat because I'm recognizing now the volunteers, the guys that are volunteering to help. They're absolutely more serious about it. They realize what it means to me, and they are pouring their heart and soul into making sure my cars and trucks are right.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I feel like that's something hard to find, and when you find it, I try to hold on to it because
Sure.
Anybody can just come be a wrench turner, but to have somebody that's going to go the extra mile to make sure they Loctited that bolt, to make sure that bolt's in the correct, make sure the threads ain't tore up. It's just the little stuff that takes you out of these big races.
Yeah.
It's just little piddly things that will eat you up. And that's like in the big truck, we had a tune in the motor come apart, or something. We had some issues with the tune, and then we think we had a coil pack set, like a couple coil packs maybe go bad. We ended up changing all the coil packs and just doing a bunch of work to the truck. So I can't really point to one particular thing that went wrong. We knew we had some issues, and we just kind of changed all of them, and upgraded it all. And so, it's kind of one of the deals I could sit there and try to point it out exactly what it was or find it. But with our time frame going to Pennsylvania and stuff, we didn't have time to mess around that long, to try to nail it down to exactly what caused it was a lot of little things I think built up to a big issue, which we got a good handle on it now. And it was really a bummer in that because I felt like we had one of the fastest trucks out there. And
I agree.
I don't think me or Lauren were running a egregious pace. I really think the pace that me and Lauren were running was a pace that me and him could carry all day long. I know he had fuel pumps go out on him, and it's one of them reliability things. They're just the Can-Ams are so much more reliable than the big trucks.
Yeah.
But what do? You note it down in your book and okay, next year don't make this mistake.
Yep. That's all you can do is try to be better tomorrow. 100%. You know, and if you're not working to try to be better tomorrow, then of course you're not making leaps and bounds. You're not making achievements and accomplishments either. So yeah, it's a lot of work. It's pretty cool. We volunteered to be on a King of the Hammers crew. Josh is talking about, I don't know if he's told you, but he is talking about maybe racing hammers next year. And Jason and I said, well, shucks, we'll be on your pit crew. And he said, well, I'll take you. We did also admit that we're not going to be good. We're going to be pretty sub-rate, but we're going to practice to be sub-rate. So.
I still got to figure out where the gas goes in a Can-Am.
Yeah.
I drive Polaris's.
Just wherever, as long as it's not on fire, you're fine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I give.
Well, we were the pit crew for the mega trucks. What was that one? The Boss Hog or whatever.
Yeah, the Bog Hog.
Bog Hog.
Yeah.
I didn't know where the shutoff field was. What was it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, where do you shut the fuel off? He goes, he's strapped into the seat and he's getting ready for the next race. He's using like 5 gallons on like a 50-foot run. Yeah. He goes, I'm like, I don't know where this is at. I'm like, and I'm the only one there. He's like, it's over here. So I'm digging through all the mud. Finally found it, got it shut off.
Yeah.
And then he's like, just use the siphon. I'm like, it's not my gas.
Yeah, that was our buddy John Screama owns New York Off-Road Park. New York State Off-Road Park, and that he bought that truck, that Dennis Anderson truck. That's my favorite mega truck, honestly. And
that thing's awesome.
It's oh my gosh, man, what a beast! What a beast! Yeah, and John, the owner, is just top notch. Cool dude.
And I don't know anything about him. Like the trucks. So for me to start figuring out where everything is, he's like over there. He's strapped in. He can't move. His head's stuck.
Yep. He's all Hansed in.
It's definitely, and that's the thing. Like we've learned, and that is one of the more painful things we had to learn is like when we go to Hammers, we don't. For being the team that we are, we don't have a paid pit crew, so we don't have the same guys going to the races.
Right.
So when we go to Hammers, it's kind of like having a brand new crew.
Yes.
And so that's one of the things we learned is like, this is where we have to put the jack on this car. This is where you have to jack this car up at. This is, and you explain to them, this is why you put it here, because if you jack it up here, it'll actually not go high enough or it won't do this.
Yeah.
And this is all stuff that we've learned the hard way. So like it's really key to communicate to hammers for us particularly. It's really key for us, like me, to communicate where you put the jack, where you do all this stuff, because in the heat of the moment when you're racing and you pull into the pit and the car's running, nobody can hear anybody. You can't talk.
Right.
So it has to be known. And that was another thing we learned the hard way is I always had guys run up to the window net, so the 40, the big truck, and they're like, blah, 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 this is going on. And I'm like, I don't know what you said. Like, so normally they keep trying to tell me, and I finally just give them a thumbs up. And I don't have a clue what they say.
We're doing good, guys.
Sounds awesome.
And so they have a continuously running joke around our pit that I turn all the radios off in the trucks because I just get to the point where like I can't hear them, I can't understand. I'm like, okay, whatever. And so now with working with Rugged has actually got us set up with radios for all our pit guys and everything. And
Nice.
And in the truck also, we used to only have one guy at the radio. And we learned now that we give all the pit guys radios, and then we have one guy. He's kind of like the master communicator.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that stands in front of me, with the cone in the pit, and he does nothing. His only job is to communicate to me and communicate what I say to the pit crew. Like, so if I come in and they're working on something, and I go, hey, make sure we check the front right. It felt like something's going on, which normally I try to communicate it before we come into the pit, on our way in. I tell them, hey, I think something's going on with the front right. And as they're looking it over, he stands back away from the front of the truck, with the cone on there. And they, rather than telling me, they tell him, and then he radios it to me. Because I'm wearing, with the new steel helmet I have, it has really good earmuffs and everything on it. Because I used to get out of the truck, so your ears would be ringing for the next 3 days.
Yes.
Now I got really good earmuffs, and I wear earplugs in there. And so if they come up and yell in the window, I just give them a thumbs up. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's just like, I don't know what you're saying, and I'm not even going to sit here and try, because I've tried to open the visor and reach in and pull the earmuff to the side, and I still can't hear.
No.
And it's just like, use the radio, you're just going to get a thumbs up from me. You could tell me I'm on fire, I'm probably going to give you a thumbs up, because I don't know what you're saying anyways.
And a smile.
So, yeah. And so that's little things like that we've learned the hard way have made a tremendous difference in our pit side of us racing and evolving and keeping myself competitive.
Sure.
We've actually learned the hard. We've taken ourselves out of a lot of races in the pits. We've lost, actually last year at Badlands was one of them. I came into a pit and we learned who not to give the radio to. I'm not going to mention a name on here. But the gentleman, he knows what I'm talking about too, and it's an ongoing joke. He was the radio, the communicator in front of the car, and the guys are running around the car and they're looking it over. We're putting some fuel in it, and he gets off looking at the driver's side of the car. Well, one of the guys in the back passenger stood up and yelled to the front, and he wasn't paying attention and said, "Hey, we got a tire going low on the car." And it wasn't flat yet, but it was on its way to being flat. And he wasn't paying attention. So they finished fueling, and he goes, "All right, you're good, go." And the guys are running with the jack, getting ready to stick the jack under the back tire of the car, and I take off. And then he gets on the radio, and he goes, "You need to stop." And I'm like, "What? What's going on?" He goes, "You have a flat tire." And I'm like, "Well, I can't turn around in the pit, so you guys have to run to the other end," because I had to run with the spare tire all the way to the other end of the pit. Jack up the car, change the tire. We lost the race by 3 seconds.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So that was, so just little things like that will hunt you. Same place. Next day we raced the open class, I think. It was the next day. Yeah, it was the next day we raced the open class there. And it was muddy. And so a volunteer guy, he goes, "Hey, I'll go wash your car off for you." Said, "Oh, cool. I don't want to do it." "Great. I'm more than happy to let you wash the car." Well, he goes and washes it, doesn't clean the radiator on the car. And so get in the car, we take off, we're leading, we're out front, running down the back stretch at Badlands. I'm looking down and I'm like, "Why is my car running 240 right now?" And it's the radiator's in the passenger side, so I can reach over and I can feel the fans are on. I'm like, I can see them spinning, and I know they're on. I'm like, what the hell could be going on right now? And so, lo and behold, he didn't wash any of the mud off the radiators. The radiator's just packed full of mud in the car from the day before, running through all the mud holes.
Yeah.
So it's just, and he didn't,
You didn't know.
I should have explained it to him. I should have said, "Hey, make sure we clean the radiator out on the car." But it's just one of those things that just, if it gets overlooked, it costs you a race real quick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the endurance racing is, that's where it's at. That's what Jason and we love to do. We promote short course races. We do some fair racing.
Yeah.
We've got Michigan Mud Jam this year. We're promoting 4 days or 5 days of fun there.
Yeah.
With the side by sides. But when it comes to participating in races, that's, I'm old. I don't want to go out and short course it anymore. I don't heal well, so I love the endurance stuff. I really do. So we have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. Well, that's like for us. We were racing one of them. We were like 5 feet behind a person going 30, 40 miles an hour through the trails. Next thing you know, we're covered in mud and just zoop, we're done.
Yeah. The front mount fan got us a while ago. Now we've changed that.
Yeah.
So
we went to the rear one.
Yeah, just like you find those gremlins and you make adjustments and try to not let it happen again the next time, or at least direct it in a different area, So
I think our biggest downfall for us is that we'll come in the area where all the crew and everybody's there, where everybody's hanging out, and there'll be a jump, and we'll be like, poof, we'll launch it. Oh, that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Trying to get the crowd happy.
That's not that's not a bad idea. So there's a fair argument I will say to be made, and I always try to do this. If I'm doing not so good in a race, if I have problems or an issue, something happened or whatever, then my next goal is to put a good show on.
Yes.
So if I can't win, my next goal is to put a good show on. So there's a fair argument to be made, and then you at least make the highlight reel. Well, hopefully not the highlight crash reel. Hopefully just the highlight
Yeah.
reel.
Yep.
And you still get media, and your sponsors and your supporters still get a ton of airtime, because you send it an extra 50 foot further than anybody else.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a fair argument to be made that doing that is not necessarily a bad idea all the time. So
I have
just
so
keep
much
that in the
fun.
back
I
of
get
your mind when
excited.
People tell you that.
Yep.
Well, I mean, your sponsors probably got a lot of it because we were watching the time trials.
The qualifying.
Yeah, qualifying, and you were just like, is it like a zone? Do you just see the zone, or like, is it like, do you know the path? Because like when I'm driving, I don't really see anything to the sides. I'm focused.
So it's weird. I have yet to accomplish this in the Pro 4 truck. I think it's just a seat time and comfortability thing. But in the big truck, and even especially the X3 Can-Ams, I'm very relaxed because I'm very aware of where the car is at all times. It's almost like an extension. Like I don't have to think about it. It's very simple, very easy for me to know where it is at all times. So I can take in a lot of information from around me and process it in those vehicles. And the Pro 4 truck, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, I got a lot better about it. But definitely at the beginning of the year, it was so overwhelming with a lot of information coming into it. And honestly, one of the biggest things I found, this is going to probably be different for people. I learned that the exhaust in the truck was so loud inside the cab, it dulled all my senses to what the truck was actually doing.
That
It
makes
was
sense.
it was so loud, and it echoed through the cab because they had it cut off right basically at the bottom, dumped straight out the bottom of the truck, and it would echo right back up into where I sit. And it was so loud in there that it would literally dull all my senses to the point where I normally can feel very well what a vehicle's doing. It's one of the things I'm actually really good at is I can get in a vehicle and feel it and go, okay, there's the crossover. It's transferring to the mainspring. All right, now I can pick the throttle up.
Yeah.
And I can process all this as I'm driving. In that particular, I couldn't process any of it for the first 3 or 4 races. And I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't figure out, I didn't realize what was happening. And I finally actually started talking to Wayne Israelson. He does shock tuning with me. And I told him, I said, Wayne, I can't feel nothing in the truck. Like I'm struggling drastically to feel anything and feel what's going on in the truck. Like I don't know. I don't know what's happening. And he suggested it. He goes, because your ears are always ringing when you get out of the truck. And I go, yeah, I can't hear anything. And he goes, it's too loud. Put earplugs in, do everything you can to tone it out, and then run the truck. And I did that. And then I was like, oh, wow, this is a night and day difference for me inside the truck. And I end up switching helmets, end up getting better earmuffs. And at one time I was running earmuffs, earplugs, everything I could do in it to quiet it because it's so loud inside of it. And now with a better helmet and everything's a lot better. But it literally, I think it was like 3 or 4 races into the season, which is halfway through the season, before I realized what was actually happening and why I couldn't feel anything in the truck, why I couldn't figure it out.
Your truck had tinnitus, man. That's what it was.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting to me. That was one of them things. It essentially, in my mind, cost us half of a season.
Sure.
Of progression just over something so simple. This year we'll have mufflers,
Yeah.
so we'll probably have one of the quietest. And I don't, and we ended up quieting the truck down. I personally don't like it to be that loud because I like to listen to everything else in the truck. I like to hear the motor. I like to hear the gears.
Sure.
And I do that a lot from endurance side. in the endurance side, the more I can hear, I can listen for weird noises. I can listen. You can feel for weird vibrations.
Yep.
When your exhaust is real loud next to you, it's hard to pick up vibrations in the chassis because it's actually rattling you around.
Absolutely.
And so that was one of the things with the 4400 I never had to deal with because the motor's behind you, the exhaust is out the back. It's, you hear the transfer case underneath your feet, actually underneath my butt more than I hear anything.
Yeah.
The straight cut gear transfer case whines incredibly loud. That's what I feel and hear most is that thing. So that was one of the things that I learned. That was a big lesson I learned with the Pro 4 was getting it quieted down in the helmet.
Well, it looks like you learned a lot so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always said it, when you stop learning, you start dying. So
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to
100%.
start dying yet. So.
No.
No, not yet.
No, not yet. No. So, no, yeah, like I said, what a pleasure. Now you've got a full docket this year, of course. You've got a schedule, I'm sure, that most people probably can't keep. So, because you're racing what, probably about every other week, or how's it look?
Once it gets kicked up here, we race. I think it's like 20 weekends this year, a little over. I think it's 21 weekends, and then
Wow.
in between that, we're going to try to do another video. It won't be a Scrapyard video, but it'll be similar, I will say. We're working on actually probably doing one with maybe the Pro 4 truck, which that'll be out in probably North Carolina. So that'll be quite a bit of traveling. So that'll take a lot of time. And then on top of that, we're doing shows like we're going to go to Jeep Beach and be down there again. Doing that show. We got a couple other shows we're working on right now. We're trying to get some stuff worked out into. And there's even a few other races we're going to try to hit that aren't on the schedule right this second. We're thinking about trying to do Vegas to Reno. We just like it. So we're going to try to run it and see how we do against all the big desert racers. So
Yeah,
see where we stack up at.
That'd be a fun race. That's a high speed race.
That's what everybody says. So we're going to most likely, I'm about 99% sure we're going to do it in the Can-Am versus the truck. And that's just because of cost effectiveness, I guess. Like, I would love to do it in the truck, but the truck's expensive. The fuel consumption in the truck versus the UTV is drastically.
Sure.
The truck burns incredibly more fuel. And then all the parts, you put in 400 miles on all the wheel bearings, all the axles, everything. Everything in the truck's about 4 times as much as the UTV to replace.
Sure.
So,
Oh, wow.
So just the parts consumption alone in it is I would say it's about 4 times as much to run the truck as it is to run the UTV.
Yeah.
And that's why you see like a lot of races I only pre-run in the UTVs. I'd only maybe take the truck for 1 lap, and that's it. And it's just because the UTVs are so much more cost effective to run. I will argue the truck is more fun, but the UTVs are much more cost effective.
Absolutely.
And they're a lot of fun too, and they actually teach you a lot of good driving habits. For guys moving from the UTVs to the trucks. If you can drive a UTV and take care of it, you learn a lot of finesse that you don't necessarily have to have in the trucks. The trucks are really just big and have a lot of rotating weight, and you can just power through. It's impressive what you can just run over. I mean, just flat out run over.
Yep.
No regards. You're not going to hurt it. Just run it over. Don't worry about it.
Well, I mean,
So
they had all those
fun.
bypasses, even at the Badlands when they had the bypasses, and you guys are just like, whoop, 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 and we're like, oh, there they go.
Yeah, there was a couple of those cutthroats there, though, that
Yeah.
only not everybody was hitting them. That's for sure. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and in fact, in the UTV class, that's where Jason and I seen that they had that stretched out RS1 there. It looked like it had at least 35s on it, and the wheelbase was stretched out on it, and man, that thing was a beast. That thing was a beast.
Yeah,
So-
it's impressive, like the difference in the two of them, and even where the UTVs are going now. Like
Uh-huh.
how much faster they've gotten, and with the Maverick R and the Pro R, they're gonna be. It'll be really neat to see. And the nice thing about the UTVs is like I said, the evolution of them happens so much faster than the trucks.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with like what I do to my truck won't work on Lauren's truck. They don't
Right.
interchange. They're one off. So if I figure out some cool whatever shock or steering or whatever combination, you can't take that and take it to Lauren's team or to Eric Miller's team or to Josh Blather's team. It doesn't interchange.
Right.
So whatever I figure out with mine is only good for mine. Whatever they figure out with theirs is normally only good for theirs. Where you go to a UTV platform, whatever, whoever, the Miller brothers, Tyler Gibbs, whoever figures out with theirs, I can steal and they can steal vice versa. So your evolution in the UTVs is so much faster because of that.
Yeah.
Because they're based off the same platform. I think as you see these one-off like 4,400 car builds that are kind of surfacing right now, I think you're going to see that evolution slow down. I think you're actually going to see them drastically slow down, and I think you're going to see the stock chassis stuff stay just as fast and maybe faster than the one-off chassis, especially the one-off chassis that do really radical stuff and change everything. Not saying that they're bad. There's a fine line there. If they retain stock geometry and they retain a lot of the stock characteristics, it might not be that way. But if they build a completely one-off chassis, I think you're going to see that evolution of that particular car slow down to where the guys that stay closer to stock will continue to evolve faster.
Sure.
Well, you can buy one of them now right off the shelf and race it.
Yeah. Polaris just released that new one.
I'm like, you got money? Give me two of those. Let's go race.
Yeah. I have to admit, I don't think you can build it for that. Like as an individual, I don't know if you can buy a Pro R and bill what they're selling for the same price.
Yeah.
No, we talked about that, and I'll have to agree with you there. But I told him, I said I think we could build something a little better for around the same price, though.
it would be borderline. The only thing that I've actually talked to a couple desert teams about it, and the thing they struggle with is the factory car is so lightweight because of all the carbon fiber and stuff. And for them to mimic it or to try to do that same stuff, they're only building one of them. So it's astronomically more expensive to where like Polaris is doing, I don't know, 100 or 200 or whatever, however many units, that they can average that price down on all the carbon fiber work and things to where it's a more consumable price, to where your high-end trophy truck teams and everything, they've struggled to do that because they're in the 200,000 range to build this equivalent, and a lot of them are still not quite as lightweight as the Pro R is. The factory race car. Now, when you go to the Ultra 4 world and you're hitting big rocks, I don't know if that lightweight's going to be your best friend.
Right.
Might mangle some tubes and stuff. Might be good for one race.
Yeah.
Throw away. Races, you might struggle.
and ball joints, and of course I don't know if they did uniballs on that, or I guess I didn't dig into that one that far, but yeah, it's quite a machine, but I'm a Can-Am guy, and I've got an X3, and I know you saying you want to go out and race that desert race with your Can-Am. The first thing I think of is, dude, how do you keep belts on it for 400 miles at 100 mile an hour across the desert? Like,
with the X3 stuff, we could do it. I actually didn't have a lot of problems out of belts.
No.
I had more problems out of belts in short course than I ever did in endurance.
No kidding.
So I figured out the clutching in the cars, and I knew what I could do and what I couldn't do.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think how to word this. I could clutch a car to run, like an X3 would run right around 100 mile an hour. And if I kept it 100 mile an hour under, it was fine. And it wouldn't have any problems. If I tried to go over 100, it would start having issues.
Yep.
So most of the time, I really didn't have a whole lot of belt issues with the car. I had more problems in short course with them, and that was more of if I would try to run the same belt for 2 or 3 races in short course. If I
Yep.
changed the belt every race, I wouldn't have any problems at all. But I tried to push a belt a couple times to 2 or 3 races, and I was getting the cars to make enough traction that they would slip the belt, and then I would have issues coming up out of the corners. I would burn the belts up.
Yep.
And so, but in the high speed, long distance stuff, I figured out how to clutch the car. And the biggest thing I noticed with it once I got it clutched to do that is I had to be more diligent about coming out of the corners, not just flat foot in the car. So don't come out of the corner and just stick it on the floor. Come out of the corner and just roll up into the throttle gradually.
More controlled.
Not like still be aggressive, but don't overpower the belt.
Yeah.
Because really, if you're overpowering the belt, you're losing speed anyways, or you're spinning the tire. So either way, you're losing speed. So you can come out and roll up into the throttle and be just as fast as, if not faster than the guy that's coming out and just stomping it on the
Oh
floor.
yeah. Yep.
So that was the biggest thing I've learned with the X3. And then now with the Maverick R stuff, yeah, it's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, that's tip. Yeah, that is different. Now, you're from Illinois. Are you using the Illinois tuner then? The Illinois-based tuner out there? Who's doing your tuning
On the
on the
the
Can-Am?
UTVs, everything on the Can-Ams that goes through Evo.
Yep, that's what I
Powersports.
thought. Yep.
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 They
Nice.
do it, a lot of it, and pretty much take care of all that side of it. And then in the
Nice.
big truck stuff, I actually just here last week or two, I started working with. It's actually a guy I've worked with a long time ago before I got into endurance racing. He used to tune a turbo truck that I had. I played around with an old street truck, 3/4 ton Chevy, 37s, the big old, I think it was an 86 millimeter turbo, if I remember right. Maybe like 1,000 horse and
Oh,
got me in a
wow.
lot of trouble. So he used to tune that, and so I kind of went back to him, and
Nice.
he's currently working on the 4400, tuning it, and trying to make it more reliable for us. We're really trying to push that reliability thing in it.
Yep.
We're trying to do everything we can to make it as reliable as possible, so we can. I feel like the reliability has taken us out of, well, just, I don't know if, in my mind, this is the statistics I'm going to quote, because this is how I feel last year for us went is we lost, essentially lost a steering and hammers, which was a reliability deal. We had some seals and a steering box go out. We didn't wreck the truck. So I never fully wrecked the truck last year. I had a steering belt at Badlands. I had a steering box at Hammers. We had Nationals. We had another steering box go out again. And then trying to think what else we raced. I think those were the 3 races I lost last year because of stuff that was, I'm going to say it's not driver error as much as it's just parts and mechanical.
Sure.
And we think we got all the steering stuff fixed. And years prior to that, we've had alternators took us out in Pennsylvania. Last time we raced at Reading, we were leading the race and had an alternator fail and take us out of the race. So it's just a lot of reliability things. We're really just, our goal this year is to just get all of that weeded out. It's kind of been our goal the last couple of years, but I think we're just going to we're going to be super picky and really diligent on trying to overcome that reliability side of the big truck. And that's our main goal this year is to overcome that. We did a bunch of work to the steering that I'm not going to share.
That's okay. That's okay.
Because I worked really hard on it and it cost me a lot of money and it's working really well.
Nice.
So I'll sell that information. I guess.
You got to keep
How does that
secrets.
sound?
You got things fixed then. You got things figured out. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So a ton of work into that side of it, and actually that's another one. We were at NorCal, and we had a steering issue at NorCal too. When we ran against Lauren up there, we had some steering problems. go on inside of it. And so that was another race that we essentially, in my mind, I'm not guaranteeing that I could have beat Lauren there, but in my mind, it cost me a race. So pretty much anytime I do that, I view it as a loss. Not saying that I would have necessarily won that race, but it took away my opportunity to win it, I guess is the way to word that.
Sure.
So, yeah. So our big goal is just to work that reliability side out. And a lot of times we're learning in the last 3 years, that means that we have to kind of pave our own path. In the last years, we've followed a lot of other teams and have done what other people suggested, but we're realizing that we're at the front of the field and we're trying to pave a new path. So if we keep following other people, it tends to bite us a lot.
Sure.
To where, now we're kind of more of, we're going to do whatever we can do on our own. It's more expensive, a little more painful, but it seems to be paying off.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
we're going to keep pushing that way.
Nice.
Well, when you're winning, everybody's going to be following you anyway. So
Yeah, exactly.
not just on the course, but off the course.
Yeah.
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 And
So-
was it Days of Thunder? If you don't finish, you don't win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. So that is one of the things that it's very aggravating for me. When people pull out like oh man, your checkers are wreckers, and it's like, well, I really don't wreck. Like I haven't really wrecked the truck. I just have mechanical failures.
Yeah.
Well, you're
So,
beating on that stuff. I mean, you're taking it through literally one of the most abusive races there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely some of the most brutal racing, and it's evolution. And that was one of I don't know if you guys seen this. Will Gentile put out a video of a qualifier at Roush Creek. I think it was 2009. It's either 2009 or 2013. I can't remember. And it was all the 4400 trucks racing back then at Roush Creek, qualifying for hammers.
Okay.
And just look at them and then look at the evolution of where they are now. And it's like, wow, that's a huge jump in roughly 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Like the speed, the technology, everything that's gone into it is drastically, advanced and evolved. So it's kind of neat to see how much the sport, in my mind, is evolving and becoming, and it's going to transfer into everything. It's already transferred into UTVs. It's, I think, into the new Broncos now. Hopefully, Toyota and Jeep and all these other guys pick up on this stuff too and join in and, evolving this and carrying the sport to, being the next NASCAR or the next big deal.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
the Ultra 4 and the races like that are more interesting than just a circle. I mean, a lot of people like NASCAR. I'm not going to knock NASCAR at all, but you have to be more skilled. You're climbing rocks. You got to be able to pass people. You're going to have to be able to have a pit crew if you have one to winch you out of there. I mean, it takes a lot to put that together.
Well, yeah. And with any racing, it takes a big team, that's
Yeah.
for sure. But I mean, off-road racing is, I mean, it's brutal. There's nothing easy about it. It's hard. That's one thing I was going to mention. I bet you look at that video back in 09 or 13, you probably are empathetic with the driver. You're probably thinking, oh, that poor guy bouncing around in there.
Oh man, it looks brutal. I think they had about 2 inches of up travel in the suspension.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh man, there goes their back. Their back's got to be hurt.
Oh,
Are those stock shocks? Yes, they are.
yeah.
Yes,
This
they
back
are.
when Rancho was king, man. That was, times have definitely changed. And it's really cool to ride that evolutionary roller coaster too, Let's face it, not always do things, and you try things that don't work all the time. Some things do, some things don't,
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
step forward, 2 steps back. So that's cool. And with your work ethic and always working at it, you're going to have stumbles, you're going to have hiccups, but let's face it, if you're constantly at the grinding stone, you're going to make dust eventually, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's the one thing. Like, I'm definitely not the smartest person doing this by any means. I'm just lucky enough that I get to work with guys that are way smarter than me.
Nice.
So it's pretty cool. It's neat to see. Like, I've met some people that are in off road that baffle me at how intelligent they are, and it's like, why are you doing this? Like, shouldn't you be shooting rockets to the moon or doing something way beyond this? You know, and most of them have the same answer, like, oh, this is what I love to do. This is what I like. And
Nice.
you know, I'm like, oh, I understand that. That's why I'm here too. So
Yeah.
you know, and it's just impressive the minds that are in this sport to push the evolution and how much science there is to it. And it's really neat to me because, like, when I started doing this, it was literally just, all right, we bought a side by side, let's go race it. Um, I didn't really know what I was doing, and just started doing good and picked up a person gave me some advice here, gave me some advice there, and just always be open to advice and listen and take what you want. You ain't got to listen to everything, but take the good pieces and
Yep.
and start building and stuff, and ended up where I am now, and it's impressive. So
Yeah.
I'm very grateful at what I've been able to accomplish so far, and hopefully this isn't the top. Hopefully we keep going.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to continue to push the boulder, but let's face it, like you said, competition is, you've got all these new faces, these new businesses, it's an industry, right? And so people are growing, people are developing, people are getting faster, stronger. So you have to continue, just think of where it's going to be in another 10 years, That's what's really cool about it.
Yeah.
From being hovercrafts,
Yeah.
floating across.
Tires that don't go flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely neat. Even that side, it's just all the little stuff. Just the tires. Like, speaking of that, the compounds in the tires is
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
wild to see. The different tire compounds, especially like I used to do the rock bouncing stuff, and they used to do them on non-sticky tires, and so trying to climb a hill on non-stickies was a lot of RPM, just bouncing off the rev limiter, and you really wouldn't break a lot of stuff because there wasn't enough traction to break it.
Yep.
And now with the stickies, well, you notice that they're changing too. They don't really do the whole rev limiter assault on a hill, bounce it off the rev limiter, smoke the tires, because they're sticky tires. They hook up. You start
Yeah.
breaking stuff. Axles, drive shafts, things start flying out of them really fast now.
Yep, they sure
So-
do.
I just put
Yeah.
35-inch, 13-inch wide tires, truck tires on my side by side.
Yeah, we just put some new 35s on for the Pro R. Those are the ice cream tires, though.
It looks cool.
Yeah,
It does. 35s fit it good. I think.
yeah,
That's a good solid tire. I think you're going to see that become a standard in a lot of the big, the Pro R and the Maverick
Yep.
R. I think you're going to see a 35 pretty often.
Yeah.
I think for sure.
yeah.
So,
I agree. The Pro R, I'm really shocked that it didn't come with the 35s. And
Yeah.
and well, even the Mav R too. That's a big platform. It's justifiable.
Yeah.
they're as big as a Jeep.
Yep.
That's what's funny is, like, even in my shop, I'm like, I got a fair amount of room, and then you start going, well, I got to put 2 Jeeps in here and a truck. It's like, well, my shop just got really small.
Yeah.
It's not so big no more.
Nope.
I think we'll see where it goes. You get the bigger tires, more stress on the drivetrain. There's a lot of drawbacks to it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, time will tell what they can take and what they can't. We can always
Well-
make a lot of assumptions, but
Yeah.
we'll see where it leads to.
Well, last year I ran the O-board tires, the rock ones. I ran those on the dunes. I ran them on rock climbing. I actually did short course racing with them and won with 35-inch rock tires.
Yeah.
So I ran them all year just to run with them. So this year we're going to go through and weigh them, kind of see the weight on them compared to, like, the stock tires, because I have the stock one still, 35 rocks, 35 regular. We have paddles. We have the System 3 sand tires. So we're just going to go through and weigh every one of them, see kind of what they weigh, just to see the difference.
Yeah, the rotating mass.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a big thing, you know, as well as anybody. The rotating mass is humongous, you know.
Tires make a difference.
Yeah, they do, you know, and especially on my Can-Am. I mean, I go from one set of tires to the next. It's incredible how I can change shift out and RPMs and, you know, when they're hooking up. That Can-Am typically they're not. But yeah, you know, they're definitely coming a long ways. That's
Well,
for sure.
we'll bring him to the Badlands this year,
Yeah.
both of them. Last year he didn't bring his.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like I said, because you know you get to the 4400 trucks and our tires are 100 pounds.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
So you think about bolting that on a UTV and you're like, that's crazy. There's no way. And it's like, well, they're not terribly far behind. It
No.
might not be very long. And especially when you start seeing the speeds of over 100 mile an hour in the UTVs, that changes how the tires have to be constructed.
Yep.
It started changing a lot. You have to add weight. You have to add different things to stop them from ballooning. So there's going to be a lot of changes as these platforms evolve and get faster. Through everything from the tire manufacturers, to the rim manufacturers, wheel bearings and axles and CV boots and CV grease.
Yep.
All of that stuff has to evolve as the speed evolves. And that's one of the biggest things, like with UTVs in the 4400 truck class that it bother. Like, so I don't have a problem with them racing with us. It absolutely doesn't bother me at all. The only thing I want is to make sure that the UTV driver understands that when we're running a 4400 truck, the tire combination on each corner is like 150 pounds. The front axles in the truck are like 80 something pounds.
Right.
We have so much rotating weight in that. When we hit things, we go through them. We don't stop. You literally hit them and you just go through them, and whatever's left's left.
Yep.
So that's the only thing that terrifies me is you get UTV people that don't understand how much weight is moving, and they get in front of you or get somewhere around you, and they don't realize that it's not going to stop. It doesn't stop.
It's a different kind of brake check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of a brake check,
definitely
stop. It's a
don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that's my only concern with the UTVs and the truck class is just I think if all the people racing in it understand exactly what it is, I think we're fine. But if you get people that are maybe new to the sport or novices and they don't understand, that's what concerns me, and that's when I feel like you'll see issues. I think you'll see maybe something bad could happen.
Well, maybe they should have they should run in the 4900 class first, maybe, or have like a year in that, and maybe have an understanding class before they get into it. Just not let people be able to buy their way into it. Hey, I got 300,000. I'm gonna buy 2 of these and race it.
Yeah, that would actually, I think that's a very, very good point. That actually sounds really good to me. You'd have to race, UTV, for a year, or be something, and then move up. Just to understand, I've ran into situations with even the 4900 class with people. I'm trying to think of how to word this. I don't want to out this gentleman. Because he actually came to me later and apologized, and I get along with him now. But I ran into a situation where I was leading a race, and I was coming up to lap another racer.
Yep.
And I got behind him, and I was on the horn, honking at him, and we were in real tight single lane woods. And we come out into a grass opening, and they decided to drag race with me rather than let me go around them. And so I'm drag racing with them, and I'm trying to get around them. And they had quite a bit of power in their car, so I couldn't just power around them. And we come up to the next obstacle, and I clearly was going to hit the obstacle with a lot more speed than they were capable of. And so they just locked the brakes up. And it was real dusty, and I just cleaned them out. And not on purpose at all. Like, it was just an accident.
It happens.
and I destroyed their car, and they were mad at me, and they're, F you, F this, and you owe me a new car and all this. And I'm like, and what really clued me into where they were wrong is, so as soon as it happened, they radioed race ops, and they told race ops the leader of the race just hit me. So they knew I was leading the race
Oh,
and still refused to move out of the way. They were just trying to race with me rather than move and let me keep racing.
If you're getting lapped, move out of the way.
yeah.
Yeah, and so
That's
it was just one of those situations, and at the time he was really upset, which I get it. I wrecked his car, and I wrecked my car too. I wrecked myself out of the race, so it wasn't something I did on purpose by any means. But it was just a bad situation, and then later on, I think it was like a month later, they called me and said, "Hey, we realized we realized what we
Yeah.
did wrong."
Yep.
And I said, "Yeah," and I go, "I didn't mean to hit you like that. That wasn't my goal. I took myself out of the race, so clearly that couldn't have been my goal."
Yeah.
And we were fine now, and everything's good. But it was just one of them deals. It was inexperienced, and if you did that in a 4400, that's a totally different scenario. That's
Yeah.
somebody probably not walking away from that.
Exactly.
Because it was a hard hit. Because like you're going into a little rock section, I was going to clear it at probably 50, 60 mile an hour, and actually jump it, and they slowed down to crawl it, and it was so dusty I couldn't see them until it was too late, and I didn't realize what they were doing. I didn't realize that they were legitimately stopping and going to crawl through it, and I was going to jump it from one side to the other, and I hit them probably 40 mile an hour faster than they were running.
Oh my.
And it was a pretty bad one. It ripped the front of my car off. It destroyed their car, broke their motor mounts. I mean, it was a pretty hard hit. And, that's one of the things where if you're in a 4400 car and a UTV, that's a completely different scenario.
Yeah.
That's not a
100%.
scenario of people getting out mad.
No.
It's a scenario somebody's probably going to hospital.
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
If they're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the kind of stuff that concerns me with the UTVs and the 4400. It's really not. I really want them to race because I'm a firm believer in the fastest vehicle should win the unlimited class. It's the
Yep.
unlimited
Yeah.
class, and if they're faster, they should win. Just the way I view it. So
They should be something about it, though. I mean, they could put something together. I mean, if you're going to jump up to the unlimited it's pretty much the pro class that you should
Yeah.
at least have at least 1 year of racing and, like I said, a lower one.
Well, and it obviously that
safety.
wasn't an issue this year, but people see what happened, that's going to stem others to follow
Yeah.
suit, So those are the individuals definitely that I'd be concerned,
Yep.
It made me want to build a 4400 series. I'm
I know.
like, shoot, we can do it cheap.
But we understand if you're racing and somebody runs up behind you and hits the horn,
Yeah,
and they just roll up right behind you, just get out of the way.
yeah, 100%.
yeah,
It's respect.
it is. And in the 4400 class, to be honest, and like I tell a lot of people I know that I race with in it is in the trucks, bump me. Don't come up behind me and honk because I got 480 cubic inches of motor behind me.
Yeah, I don't hear anything.
Yeah, just bump me. Like there's in the 44s, and this is another thing to give people perspective on it is my front bumper's 1.5 inch 120 wall tubing, and if you go look at it, it's flattened. Like the tubes are flat on the front, and that's considered a bump in 4400.
Yeah.
So just to give guys a reference point of how much it's we call it a bump, but it's a pretty good hit.
Yeah.
Really. And inside the car, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like a bump. It feels like, oh, hey, there's a guy there. I better get out of his way.
Yeah.
And you get done with the race, and you have a piece of 120 wall tubing smashed shut.
That's
It's
crazy.
like, it's just it shows you how much contact there really is in the 4400 stuff.
Yeah.
And with the motors and how loud they are, I do it myself. I don't honk at people. It seems to be pointless to me. 99% of the time, they'll never hear it. So you just come up behind them and bump them, and 99% of the time, they just pull over out of the way, and you keep racing.
Yeah.
And it's vice versa. Same thing to me. Come up behind, bump me. Oh, okay. I'm getting over because I know the next one's not going to be
Yeah.
so friendly.
The next one might be a pit maneuver.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, it's just, that's just to give people a little scale of the difference in the two of them.
Nice. Nice.
Well, that's good to know. But the thing is with the 4400 class, most people in there are experienced racers.
Yeah.
Because you don't just jump into one of those cars and build one. There could be, but majority of the time you're with the group or you've taken the time, you've raced before to get to that level.
Yeah.
But the 49 the UTV, if they want to jump, or I mean the 44 and the UTVs, it could be anybody anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. But that's also neat that we can,
Do it.
an individual can come in and race against, professional drivers and compete.
Yeah.
I think it's really neat. I do hope they take the time to educate themselves a little bit, but it is, I don't want to take that away from our sport. I think that what makes us very unique. And to me, it allows for people to excel really fast. You get to racing and even if I come by and I'm going to use myself for an example, whoever's leading XYZ, myself, whoever, if they pass you and lapping you, jump in behind them, jump in behind me and mimic what I'm doing. And you can learn tremendously quick. So then you go to the next race and you're like, this is how he took that corner, because he took it like this, or he did this, or he hit it this way. And it just allows you to learn so fast.
Yeah.
And so you can learn really quick on how to position the car, how to set the car up. And it's not, it's whoever's faster than you. That's the nice thing about it is coming in unexperienced is you can fall in behind somebody fast and mimic them and learn tremendous amounts from them.
That makes sense.
And to me, that's one of the quickest ways to learn.
I'm not the brightest one in the group, so.
You're doing a lot better than me. You made this easy for me. I just had to get on my phone and click a link.
Well, that's what we're doing, and like you'll see me. You didn't even notice, but like I'm switching cameras because we've got 3 different cameras in here too.
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
So I'm switching between you if you're talking, or between each one of us.
Yeah.
But
he's trying to do a little bit of pre-editing here as we're recording.
that's why I'm doing this.
Yep.
I don't blame him at all. That sounds like a heck of a lot easier than have to watch the whole entire thing back. And
He
I
still
still have
watches
to watch the whole thing.
a lot. Yeah.
So like if sometimes like with you don't have the best signal, so sometimes you freeze up a little second. So I just switch the camera real quick so nobody will even notice.
Yeah. Well.
oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's
we'll
awesome.
take out any imperfections. When you were talking really bad about Josh Carmen, don't worry.
Yeah, we got all
Get
that.
right out of there. Yeah.
Well, Josh is awesome. We had him on here. We met him down there. He was a great guy.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's super cool. Yep.
He is. It's neat what they're doing right now.
It sure is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna go down there and compete in April.
Yeah, we're going down to the race down there.
Yeah.
Which one? The Pikes Offroad one?
It's the one in Missouri
Yeah, it's right. Pikes.
in April.
I would-
It's like 8 hours for us, so we're gonna go down and check it out
Yeah.
and do a supporting him.
Yeah.
So that's why I got the truck tires because we might be cutting them. We're gonna go down there and tear them up.
Yeah.
You got to enter their knockout race. if
Yes,
they have
that's what I'm gonna try to do. But I'm gonna try to knock them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just close your eyes and don't let off the throttle. That's the whole key to it.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's his. He got tons of power. I only drive the Pro R, so I don't have full power. But he has more than double the power than me.
Yeah. That Can-Am's,
Oh, wow.
it's
Yeah.
tuned. It's tuned up.
It's like the
turned up pretty
custom Wayland tune
good. Yeah.
and the Wayland motor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in theory, if you hit the first log hard enough, you clear all the other obstacles, and you just got to turn around and do it again. I mean, it's easy that way.
I can do that.
Jason, you just got your pro. Your
I got the pro tip. There we
your
go.
Pro tip.
Send it.
Awesome. Yeah, because I'm not doing the knockout. I'm gonna do the mud drag. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to be in something. Last time I got pinned underwater, so I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
So I'll be crying.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun.
No.
I haven't experienced that yet. I'd rather not.
You almost did.
I don't recognize it.
In that video of yours, that was so close. As a matter of fact, we did that commentary on that video like the week after we'd almost lost him in the mud.
Yeah.
And when it come to that scene, I'm like, where's Jason? He was in the corner sucking his thumb.
Yeah, crying.
Giving him flashbacks. Like, it's okay, he made it.
Eye twitching. It was horrible, man. I've still had nightmares.
Yeah.
The worst part is I didn't tell my wife about it. She found out by his wife the next day.
Yeah, my wife calls his wife up. She's like, "So, how's your husband?" She says, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
She says, "You didn't hear or see the video? It's gone viral." And
I didn't tell
she
her I went to
says-
the ER neither.
She says, "I didn't know that was my husband. I couldn't tell it was his machine." Like,
Oh,
Yeah, that was
probably
bad.
still left that one out of it. It's
Yeah,
like, well,
like-
he was fine. Never mind, wrong guy.
Yeah, wrong guy.
yeah, no, he was a mess. He
Yeah.
got real sick because he ingested a bunch of mud too. So he was down for a while from that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, man.
yeah.
How long were you under that?
43 seconds.
Oh, that's a
After,
long time.
yeah, after the wind got knocked out of me.
Yeah, you can.
So I sucked it all in.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it's
wow.
like somebody hitting you in the gut and then you holding your breath for 43 seconds. I thought I was goner.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
It sounds easy sitting here
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, hold your breath for 43. It's a lot different when you're in a machine, you're trying to drive and you don't know exactly what's all happening because you don't have time to go, oh, take a big breath before I go underwater.
No.
Yep.
You know?
No, you can
No.
see when at the impact, you can see his hands go up, and yeah, it was bad. It was bad. So
Well,
Well, I'm glad you're all right.
yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
end on some good notes here, though. Yeah, if you need any help, we'll volunteer for you at the Badlands.
absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not washing the radiator, though, because I'm not going to be responsible for something like that.
Yeah.
Just to let you know.
I'm going to go do that myself this time.
Yeah.
That cost me a lot of money, that little mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're going to be down there helping out Tim, because in like last Badlands, he blew the front bearing. Was it bearing? Ball joint.
That was ball joints. Yeah.
Knocked him out of the whole race
Yeah.
Oh,
after they built a custom UTV for it.
Yeah, that was a brand new car.
Yep. First
yeah,
race.
Yeah. So.
yeah, the new car blues, though.
Yeah, he had new car blues all season last year. Hopefully, he got all those gremlins out of there.
Yeah.
So.
So,
Hey, I can't say nothing. That's an ongoing thing for me. The first year I ever race a new car, it always seems to not do good. The
Yeah.
second year it was really well. So
Yeah.
so this last year I did really well in the X3, the car I raced. The year before I raced the same car, and I think I won 2 races in it.
Nice.
And it was just
Yeah.
like gremlins, just the smallest things like plagued that car. It was always really fast, and then like just the dumbest stuff would happen. A bolt would rattle out, and I'd lose whatever, the steering, or I'd lose. It was just like one thing. I was like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
got a handle on it and got it all straightened out and lined out and did really good last year. So
Nice.
I'm a little nervous for the Maverick car. I gotta get through all that new car blues, which Hammers we did really good. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can just roll right into the season and keep moving forward.
That Mavar is a beast, though. Capabilities that they have to be able to adjust and tune on that thing it's incredible. So I'm really excited to see where that's going to go in the future because Evo, Whalen, all the guys that have actually cracked it and are making it better, they're just in the beginning phases of making it better. So they're still going. There's still a lot to go on that car.
To have the information on it that we have on the X3, I guess is a better way of wording that. Right now, I'm very interested to see the East Coast race Maverick R versus X3. Because last year I ran an X3 all year, and guys were racing the Maverick R, but I never got beat by a Maverick R last year, other than King of the Hammers.
Well, it's because you're a better racer.
Yeah.
Maybe the car was a little more reliable and a little more lined out.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how good a machine you have if you're not a good driver.
That is true. I have seen some great machines with terrible drivers.
Yeah.
So, but we'll really see this year, and I'm hoping to get a really good handle on the Maverick R and try to get it, lined out. But yeah, I'm interested to see where the X3 stacks up against it as we move forward. Because the tight woods, the Maverick R is a big.
They're
vehicle.
big.
Yeah.
Longer, it's wider, it's big. So
Heavier.
I really, but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where the two cars stack up against each other, and I'm actually more excited this year to see that. So I'm going to be bringing the Maverick R everywhere, but I'll also have a X3 in the trailer too.
Nice.
Well, we'll be there at the Badlands watching you.
Yep.
We will.
absolutely.
We do run the racetrack, even though they tell us not to. because we ride with our friends, so we'll follow behind them.
Dude, he's part of the place now. We got to be careful what we say.
Yeah. So if somebody's following you around in the blue and the orange one, just let us be free. Let us be free. We're trying to learn to be better drivers.
Yeah.
That was one of the things. Another thing that we've been working on with the Badlands is we're wanting to do trail rides. Take people out trail riding and stuff. And one of the things that we were considering is doing it on where we can trail ride the Ultra 4 race, because normally they leave the park open and then they close the park so we can race in the afternoon. So if we were talking about me and the Badlands organizing a trail ride to take people around the track,
that'd be cool.
just to show them what we race through. I think it'll be neat just to show people, this is what we race through. This is what we're going to do here in a couple hours, and we're going to do it at 70, 80 mile an hour.
Yeah.
Not 25.
Well, to give them,
for Liam O'Donnell, you said 5 mile an hour.
but everybody else that's not in the race, it'll actually give them an idea of what you guys are doing instead of just sitting at the rock place, and then they can feel what it feels like to be behind you in a race where most people are.
Exactly.
Some days it's the other way around. But no, it'll be neat to see. Just to give them a better, like you said, give them a better perspective of it. And I think that's one of our sport's biggest issues is perspective of trying to give them the full picture of what's going on. That's one of the things NASCAR and even like the Champ Series has over Ultra 4 is you can get a better perspective of the entire race and how it's unfolding, how it's going. Where a lot of Ultra 4 doesn't have that. Now with the Starlink and a lot of the options that are coming, I think that's all changing. I think it's changing quickly, very quickly, which is good. I think it's a huge benefit to the sport. So with that being said, I'm really interested to give them a better perspective on all the race courses and just show them, this is all the stuff we deal with. Yeah, we got to go climb them big rocks, but we also have to shoot through this, gap of trees, at 50 mile an hour and not mess up because the tree doesn't move.
Exactly. Yeah, and in the Ultra 4, unlike any of the other racing venues or most other racing venues, is the spectators only see a small portion of that track. So to be able to give them or other people who want to go around and actually experience the whole track, that to give them that perspective, that it gives them an opportunity to be able to see an area that they would have never seen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, and that makes it tough for supporting your sport as well, because fans and spectators are typically what keeps the lights on at any given event or racetrack. And it's hard to have fans when you can only watch that much of the race, it really is. So,
You got more calls? Man, I got 0 calls in this amount of time.
I know. I'm not popular at all.
I only got one friend. He's sitting right next to me.
It's easier that way. Trust me, it's easier.
I bet.
A lot of phone calls, a lot of questions, and a lot of logistics. I do everything. So I fix the cars, work on the cars, do all the logistics for the cars, do all the parts ordering, all the parts repair, all the parts replacing, all the accounting, all the budgeting. It definitely keeps moving. It was a lot easier whenever it was just one UTV and that's the only car I had to worry about. That made it really simple.
I bet.
Right now we're up to 6 of them, so we get it.
Yeah.
Oh, well then, you guys are right there. And,
it's tough.
And the big thing is replacing the parts in the trailer when you have multiple UTVs, because if somebody will go grab something out of the trailer, which is fine, but then if I'm not standing there, I don't see it happen. I don't know it happened.
Oh,
and then we go to the next race, and I'm like, hey, go grab that radius rod. We bent one. They're like, oh, we used that at the last race. And it's like, you didn't think maybe to write it on the whiteboard, or put it somewhere?
Yeah,
so
I want a whiteboard.
Get a new one. So, it's definitely a big challenge to keep up with all that and do it all. And I think we're moving in the right direction. Hopefully, someday soon I'll get big enough where I can hire a crew chief, so to speak.
There you go. There you
Track all that stuff.
Goals, man. Goals.
Well, we don't want to hold you up too long tonight.
But
because we've been for a while now.
Oh, I could talk with you.
Oh, yeah.
I could
I
talk
could
with
too.
you all night, Paul. I really could. But we do,
Oops.
But
We'll have to
there
do
you
it
go.
again. We'll
Yeah.
have to do it again sometime.
absolutely.
We'll definitely come if you don't mind. We'll definitely come hang out with you. Find you at Badlands.
Absolutely. Come and hang
Yeah.
out.
We are
For
kind of
sure.
special. So if you see the guy with the second padded helmet, not your friend, but me,
Yeah.
we won't talk about that. But also, if you want to, if you want to, I mean, these are all our hats that have been signed by. There's Josh and everybody else. If you want to send us
Yeah.
one signed, we'll post it up there for you.
Yeah, I meant to send one, but I didn't get an address to send it to.
I'll get you that address,
Just
my man.
call my number 911. Tell them
Yeah.
it's emergency. I'll be there.
Yeah.
It'll get there in a hurry. Right?
Yeah, yeah. You don't even have to give me the address. I mean, they'll be over to pick it up.
Oh yeah, they all know him. Trust me. Yeah, they're oh yeah, we know that guy.
Yeah.
You
Oh, he's the one crying again.
know, so,
Yeah, so yeah, definitely give me somewhere that I can send it to you. And
Yeah.
absolute worst case, when you guys stop by at the Battle, I think give you some T-shirts too.
oh
Okay.
man,
So,
We'll wear them
so you
around.
have to stop by to get those. I don't ship
Yeah.
them. You have to stop in the
Nice.
trailer.
Well, I told everybody else I got a brand new Speedo I'm wearing, so don't worry.
yeah.
It'll be nice.
And the bad thing is he's threatened that he's
Yeah.
bought two of them, and I
Yeah.
said absolutely not, man.
I got them yellow. I thought it would be a banana hammock. That was my fault.
yeah,
I told you we don't have many friends.
and he wonders why.
He's the only one that puts up with me.
You're a tight knit group that way.
Yeah.
Well, one of these days we're going to start a counseling session, and we'll have the right support.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have friends.
I wouldn't do that. I don't want to have to. There's too many stories back there. I don't think I want to know.
Exactly.
Oh, you can read the book.
Yeah.
It's one page. We couldn't write.
Yeah.
It's in crayon. Actually, we're going to get a whiteboard in the trailer now so we can write our messages on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Jason's going to
There you
walk
go.
in there and see something really funny. I can't wait.
It'll be like, my name is.
On the whiteboard. On the top of the whiteboard, you have to write. This is
Yeah.
coming from Travis Skelton. This is
Yeah.
the guy first started racing with the best advice he ever gave me was don't unload it if you don't plan on winning.
Oh, yeah.
So on the
Exactly.
top of all of our whiteboards in the trailer, that's what goes on them.
That's a good one, actually.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we're kind of special. We're not the coolest people in the world, but we do enjoy it.
Yep, we do.
You,
So
you seem like a great crowd to me. I'll hang out with you anytime.
thanks, man. But yeah,
Until the banana hammocks come out, then I'm like,
trust
Don't-
me.
don't judge.
I'm
Don't
running
judge.
with you, man. I'll probably pick you up and run. We're gone.
I've been working on my dance moves.
Yeah, I'll be throwing Paul over my shoulders. We got to leave. It's time to go.
it's that time.
Yeah.
Yep, it is.
So, all right, guys, have a good evening.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
my
much,
man.
Paul.
Thanks.
All right,
See you, man.
we'll see you.
Bye.